now I think professor from Pakistan, Professor Shaista Tabassum from University of Karachi, and as I mentioned before, the speech will be on security concern of state in the new world order. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor from Warmia University, from Mazury University, the fellows from the Federal Urdu University, and my greetings to Dr. Zabta Shinwari and the people who are sitting in Poland. My topic is the importance of the security as a major concern of states in the new international world order. As a student of international relations, we know that the leading principle of international relation is the state, and for state, it's the ensuring its security. The new international world order, the security of the state remains the primary concern of the states. And the structure of the new international world order has been made in such a way that the states, they are forced to compete with each other to secure more power. So when we talk about the international system, the new international world order, we see that the state is the primary actor in this international system. And what are the issues which are related to the state and state security? Mainly that there are two schools of thought. What I am doing is that I will be just very briefly talking about the concept of security. Then I'll go to the powers and the security which through which the state can achieve the actors and the elements of its power. And finally, I will be talking about that how security, how the modern state is pursuing or trying to achieve its security. There are two different school of thoughts in the international relations study, the idealist and the realist. The realist see security as a deviation of power, and where an actor with enough power ultimately reach a dominating position within the in the world and would acquire security as a result. Power and then the security ultimately. While the idealist, they argues that this conception leads them not only to see the problem in a more holistic manner, but also that it focuses attention directly on the issue of war. Since war is a major threat arising from the national security problem, and solution to it would largely eliminate the problem from the international agenda. Means if the war be eliminated, if the war be averted, then ultimately peace be created, and peace is actually where the security may be achieved. So these are the two important school of thoughts which are present in the international system. A very prominent professor of international relations, Professor Hans J. Morgenthau, he talked about the different elements of power, how a state may achieve maximum power. And in fact, this is situation or this formula is very much applicable in the present new international world order. Um, Morgenthau talked about that there are many tangible elements and there are intangible elements. Geography, especially the resources, they cannot be changed, but they may add in the power of a state. But there are many factors that may be increase or reduce or decrease related to the state's power. Like, for example, one which the professor just now have talked about, that militarization, the military weapons, arms, the quality and quantity of the weapons, then the training of the soldiers, the number of the forces, etc. There are so many added provisions, like, for example, nuclear technology, the nuclear weapons, the missiles, the submarines. These are all the militarizations which we have witnessed after Second World War, especially, and that had been taken as the power of some state. I mean, the powers that have emerged after Second World War, they were actually militarily strong. And in fact, in the first phase of the uh, first 2 decades after the Second World War, we see that the security of the state were defined on the basis of military capability, means the states which were capable of manufacturing, assembling, and who have huge arsenal, they were accepted as a powerful state. But gradually, this had been changed in the international world order, new international order. A number of the challenges and threats that have been added to define the concept of security. Like, for example, some traditional threats and some non traditional threats have been added. And one cannot deny the importance of issues like climate change, which is, in fact, one of a very serious threat to the state. And the climatic changes that have been going on in the world for the last, we can say, for the last more than a decade, is really a global threat. And that can be met by a joint and combined efforts of the state. There are some other, I believe that there are some other non-traditional threats. For example, what we have been facing here in Pakistan is propaganda. I mean, that has not been outlined and that have not been very much given emphasis by the international scholars. But I think that propaganda through the social media, propaganda, wrong information, fake ideas, etc., that had molded the public opinion, and it's a very, very taken as a very serious threat to the state security. Um, and addition to that, there are some other issues like, for example, the violation of the human rights that is considered as a non-traditional security area, and then the insurgency, the non-state actors. These are non-state actors either been fighting within the state, or they have the support from the neighbors or from any international actor who have political interest in the particular state or in the region because of political, economic, whatever the reasons could be. They are posing a serious threat to the state security. If the state can, how the state may come out from these security challenges and threats. It's in fact a globalized world where the threats are also globalized in nature. Like, for example, the non-traditional security threats are globalized in nature, and that can be averted or rather uh, faced by a combined and globalized effort. So, number of the treaties and agreements have been concluded, but uh, a little success is seen. So, some of the non-traditional security challenges are still a real challenge of the international world order. Um, and along with that, I think that the the non-state actors who have now been aligning against the power of the state is one of the biggest threat to the international system and to the state itself. And the state themselves feels that the other states are not really a threat to them. Rather, these non-traditional security issues are a much problem for the state survival. They are challenging the very structure of the state and the also the individual. So the emergence of the non-state actors challenging the state sovereignty and authority in the international system. This new international world order, which is emerging, especially after what is happening in the occupied areas of Palestine, especially, and the occupied areas of Kashmir, I think that's a very new. It's an eye opening for the international community to think about that if the state's power grow to such extent that it threatens the individuals, the people who are living on the territory, within their territory, then the state itself becomes a threat to the individual. In fact, this leads to another dimension of the state's power and the security, because for the state, for a powerful state or for a developed world, what is the primary concern? Is it really the security of itself, means the security of the state, or security of its individuals who are living in that state? So, because as I mentioned that the individual's security, it should be the primary concern of the state. But in many situations, we see that the state itself is more concerned of its security than the security of the individual. So that is why we are facing a large number of failed states where the system, the human security is not being taken care of. The number of the issues like health, education, their well-being, social security, they are being neglected, and the state has given this importance to its own security. In fact, it's a very complex situation in this international and globalized world where the state is need to realize that whose security is more important. The internal security, the internal threats which is coming from the individuals when the state machinery itself is violating the rights of the individual, or the security within from the system where the state is surviving. State is actually taking a number of the measures for protecting or for taking the this responsibility of its by like, for example, they continue to militarize, and the power multiplied, the type of weaponaries, more deadly weapons, more casualties. And then the question arises that whether the state is successful in achieving its security, or it's become more insecure, because it leads, more weapons actually leads to the security dilemma that the security, the weapons, they actually don't bring the security, rather the insecurity. So as I've said that it's a very complicated new approaches, new additions, dimensions that have been added to the international system. And we are here to discuss that, to explore that what are the best possible options for the state to achieve its security. I must thank the participants and the organizer for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Very much, Professor. Thank you for presentation of the new approach to the security